Hey fam, hey, welcome back to my channel. It's been a minute, but I am back. Did I watch last week's part 4 of the look back or the how it's going? I did. But you know what? I decided not to report on that because quite honestly, I was just tired of talking about it. I was tired of watching Robin be a poo-poo face. I was tired of watching Cody be mad at everything. I just wanted to skip ahead to what we are going to talk about in this video, which is Christine's Princess Day. It truly was a fairy tale. I think she got everything she wanted. She had everyone there that she wanted to be there, probably except for Gwendolyn, which was not mentioned, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But I'm going to say that throughout this night of wedded bliss, there was some shots fired, y'all. And even Christine called out one of the shots. We're going to get into it right after the jingle. All right, we are back. Like I said before, it is Christine's Princess Day. That is what we call wedding days. When you get to just be the focus of the attention, you get to be the princess for the day, you get to be queen for a day. Everything is laid out just for you and the person that you are walking down the aisle with. And it was truly a beautiful, what seemed like a weekend of activities. She had all of her girls around, except for Gwendolyn, like we talked about. She had other sisters around. I think all of her siblings except one sister was able to come, her mom, her other mom, and her dad. Now, we have not seen her dad the entire time this show has been on, but I loved that when he was there, he just gave her really encouraging words and basically told her, your last marriage was trash, but David loves you. We did see that she talked about a few things that were going to happen in the wedding, and some speculate that the fact that Peyton was going to walk her down the aisle was one of the reasons that Gwendolyn did not come, although we do know, if you follow Gwendolyn or if you've heard other YouTubers talk about this show, Gwendolyn said she was very busy with school and could not be there. Now, I'm just going to throw my opinion in and say that is odd to me, because if my mother was getting married, I would drop everything and go ahead and go to the wedding. But I do understand also that she is really studying a pretty hard subject. So maybe, just maybe, those exams and tests had to be done when it was planned. It was October 7th that she got married. And for some colleges, that is right around exam time. So neither here nor there. It wasn't my wedding. If Christine is okay with it, I'm fine with it. If she likes it, I love it. It's all grand with that. I am just going to talk about a few things that popped up to me. I'm not going to give a play-by-play. Hopefully, if you get the opportunity, go back and watch it because it truly is just a really beautiful beginning to what I know this coming Sunday will be a beautiful, beautiful wedding. Now, I will point out that when we do cut to Cody and Robin, they are basically out on Coyote Pass, and Cody musters up being able to say how he saw an invite at his sister's house. Now, before this, we hear some crazy man screaming in the woods, cutting down trees. Okay, if that's what you're going to do on the wedding day, do you, boo. But then Cruella jumps in and does this whole covering his face and mouth thing because she thinks he's going to say something just so rude. That, again, is the rudest thing that you can do, is to put your dirty hands over someone else's mouth. I don't care if it's your husband, your child, whoever. It's one of my pet peeves. Don't ever do it. And if I see it, it gives a very visceral reaction. He says, listen, I'm just trying to tell my story here. He said he saw an invitation at his sister's house, so he knew that they were going to get married, and he really hopes that they are happy. He said that she told one of the kids, listen, Dad has found his soulmate, and I have found mine, so that she can go and be happy. And then, of course, Cruella has to come in and say, well, I just hope that David and Christine can be happy. Bitch, they are happy. And that's why y'all big mad, because they're happy. You out on Coyote Pass sitting on logs and crap, and she's in Utah planning the most beautiful day. Now, this is where some of the shots were being fired. Mykelti talks about how David and Christine met in October, and she was joking around with Tony saying, I think this is a little soon. I think you all should wait. Maybe you should wait until December. Now, if you have not been watching the show or you don't remember when Tony and Mykelti got married, that is what the parents said to them. We don't know him. We think that you all are moving too fast. You're really young. Maybe you should wait until December. Now, granted, in that case, Mykelti was introducing Tony, if not probably for the first time. They'd only met him maybe 1 or 2 times. They had only been dating a few months, fewer than Christine and David. And of course, Maddie was getting married at the same time, and they didn't want to double up on weddings, so they encouraged her to wait. Now, I did watch that episode back just a few weeks ago, and I love that Mykelti sort of did a deal. She said, okay, if you're going to make me wait, then you're going to have to pay for half, if not all, of our honeymoon. Because right now, I have the money to get married. Then in December, I will not have the money. And it did work out in their favor. Going back to Kody seeing the invite at his sister's house, this is just more proof to me of how in love with Christine he really was. First of all, he's talked about her every single episode. I understand being hurt by something happening or a breakup coming about, but my goodness, you have literally talked about this woman in every aspect of your existence in these few years than anything else. You didn't talk about it this much when you saw her every day and you were considered her husband. You didn't even talk about her this much when she put your stuff out in the garage, bruh. But since she's left, you've talked about her in every single episode. And I think that you are finally coming around to that stage of grief where it's acceptance. Now you're saying, you know what? I hope she's happy. I'm glad she's with who she's with. I'm going to be happy over here. But are you happy, Kody? Are you happy? Somehow I don't think you are. Don't think you are. I just think it proves how in love with that woman you really are. Christine says that she has a conversation with Truly about living with a man full time. Here again is another shot fired. So she says to Truly, are you nervous about living with David all the time? And Truly says, well, a little. Christine says, well, hey, I'm actually nervous too. Then Truly opens up and says, okay, I am a lot nervous because she's not used to having someone around all the time. And I heard someone else say, Christine is not really used to having someone around all the time. She was living in polygamy when she was a child. When she got married, she was living in polygamy. So Kody was going to different houses. Then, of course, they broke up, so she wasn't with him. And this truly is the first experience for Christine to have a man in her home 24 hours, 7 days a week, and thus the same for Truly. But they love David. They love having him around. There's also still lots of kids around because he has children. So Truly has accepted and even says that, she has already started calling them husband and wife. And Christine corrected her and said, well, we're not married yet. But already in Truly's mind, she has accepted that they're getting married and they've been living together. So she's gotten used to that whole setup. And I just love the fact that Christine could go to her and ask her, which she should, how do you feel about this? Now, I'm sure they've had talks before, probably just about how do you feel about mom dating? I do love that she said that David was not there to replace Kody, not to replace her dad, and he never would. Another shot fired was the girls standing around and just kind of talking about David and Christine's relationship. And one of her daughters goes, he's obsessed with her and she deserves to have someone obsessed with her. Bang, bang. When we see Meri, she's decorating for Halloween. She hung that ghost, said her piece, folded that step stool, and went back in the house. Going back to Christine's house, because that's about all we had of Meri until a little bit later in the episode. But in Christine's new home, is it just me? Or does her new home have the same kind of setup as the LV house, the Las Vegas house? I swear that kitchen was the same kitchen. I know it's not the same kitchen, but it looks a lot the same. We cut to Janelle and her kids who have arrived for the wedding rehearsal. And of course, big homie Janelle showed up with all the supportive energy. She showed up with all the smiles. And I love what she says. I'm going to jump to what she says towards the end of this episode. She says, it's like something that was wrong was made right. I love how supportive she is of her friend. I love that she does not see the demise of this family as Christine's fault. I mean, she's sort of in the same space. Cody would go back and have a relationship with Janelle, but Janelle, of course, has seen enough to make her say, yeah, this is not for me. I am out for the count. Don't look for me to come back. But I just love that she is so supportive. No matter what their relationship was in the beginning, in their 20s, when they didn't quite know what they were doing. Like I said, I think in an earlier video, people grow, people change, and they are at a place where she's even actually willing to be on a boat and stand up and be the first one to give a speech in honor of her friend who was getting married. And even says, this is a fairy tale, and I am so proud to be a part of it, and thank you for letting me be a part of the deal. Because as we know, Christine said she told David several times, listen, if you get me, you get Christine. I also love that we get to hear from Christine's mom. Now, we've seen her mom before in previous seasons, but we see her getting emotional in the fact that her daughter's getting married, because remember, she was not at her first wedding because she'd already left the church. And in the Mormon faith, not everyone can come to a ceremony. You must be a member of the faith. If you are not, I think you have to wait outside. So she was not there at the wedding. And I think that if she is just remembering, how she feels about polygamy and leaving polygamy and watching her daughter suffer through a relationship with Cody, it had to be an overwhelming thing to now see her getting married to who she calls the love of her life. I'm sure that Christine has said that several times about Cody. And I'm going to say this just on a personal note. I have had people in and around me who use the term or the sentence love of my life a lot. They almost use it for every single person that they date. And it starts to lose traction when I read it or see it or hear it 4 and 5 times. The love of your life. And I just heard this the other day. The love of your life, should be the love of your life. I'm going to leave that there. The love of your life should be the love of your life. I heard that quote the other day, and I love it because it's true. But stop using that love of your life. Really think about what that might mean or what that does mean, because it cannot apply to absolutely everybody that you're dating. But Christine says that David is the love of her life, and I believe her. I believe her when she says that they were on a date, he pulled her close to him, she laid her head on his chest, and their hearts synced up. I believe all of that. Because I wasn't there, and if you believe that, and if you know that to be true, and that is your truth, I have no choice but to believe it. Now we're going back to Christine's dad, who again, she sees him, she hugs him. And of course he says, you weren't treated so well before. And so he loves you. David loves you. And then we cut to Christine sitting with David, who says, I think, my dad knew that my marriage wasn't great. And she said, I think he's been upset for a really long time. So again, how nice to be able to come back around full circle and now see your daughter living a happy, wonderful, someone loves me, jump up and down, our hearts synced kind of love and relationship. I guess I just wonder why Cody and Robin were in this special at all. Why? Why was Mary in the special? I get that they're trying to wrap up the show or they're trying to keep the same structure of the show. But if you're going to make this Christine and David's wedding, that's really all I want to hear about. I don't need any comments from the peanut gallery. Sorry. I will say for Mary, just being a human, Mary would like to find love one day. I think that she sees that just being genuine and wonderful and nice, like Christine was, putting up with what she went through. They all went through their things. I hope that she does find her love. I hope that her prince does come along because, again, people grow and change, and I believe that Mary can grow and change. I hope she has grown and changed. And if that's the case, send love her way. Send love her way. Maybe finding the love of her life will soften her up a bit more. And you'll see a Mary that we haven't seen. I think we see a softer and a kinder Mary, even with her friend Jen. So imagine if she was loved and treated like she should be loved and treated. That could really show us a totally different Mary. I don't know that this show will last long enough for us to see that, but I think that she will still end up, being on social media. So maybe we'll get to see it then. I love that we have one last Truly sighting. Let me tell you, I love to see this little girl. I love to go back and see her when she was a little baby. I actually just saw the episode the other day where she got very sick and ended up in the hospital because somebody, Cody, wasn't keeping an eye on his daughter, and she got dehydrated because she wasn't drinking enough water. But I went back and watched that episode and I thought, she's so darling. She's always been such a cutie. And so to watch her grow up and just sort of become her own person was great. And in the last sighting that we see Truly, she comes bursting through the door saying, "Welcome, children." I love it. And she reminds me of the greeting card, the older lady on the greeting card that has the really sassy greetings on there. And she always sometimes has her dog. I put a picture in so you could see who I was talking about. But I absolutely love watching Truly grow up and just watching her and hearing her express herself, because you just remember seeing her through all the stages of her life. And she's so well spoken and so smart and so clever. And she's just a joy to see on the screen. And you really wish for her that she had a better relationship with a dad. Her dad. You really wish that she had a better relationship. But you know what? She's getting a new dad to come in. She's getting a new person to come in and sort of maybe fill a little bit of those gaps. I won't say fill in for her dad, but just fill in some of those gaps. We also see the girls getting ready and talking about, they're calling David our stepfather. And, I think Isabel's saying, they're calling David our stepfather. And Aspen's like, well, I don't think I would call him that. I don't know what to do with that. So I'm just going to call him family. Let's just say he's family, and I think that's just truly what it is. I think that they'll probably just go ahead and call him David, even though, like they said, he'll probably say, hey, just call me what you want. Whatever, it's fine. So I don't think they're ever going to get to a point where they call him dad, or anything like that. But David's probably fine. That is really all that stuck out to me in this episode. Of course, we see, Christine getting ready. She's getting her hair done. Again, her daughters are just giving her wonderful words about how, she deserves this. She deserves to be loved. Maddie did make me tear up. I'm going to tell you, Maddie has always been my girl. She is like my ace boon coon. Maddie's like, I want to say this, but I don't want to cry. But she just ends up saying, this is so wonderful. He's so wonderful. I love him so much for you. I'm so happy that you get your fairy tale. These kids have watched Christine go through the ringer. I'm sure they have seen both sides of every story and no sides of some stories because they were kids. But now that they're adults and just being able to watch through the eyes of an adult, watch through the eyes of married men and women, they can tell that their mom and the other moms that have gone through thick and thin have truly gone through that. So to see her happy, to see her getting her happily ever after, her forevermore, is emotional for them. So you can tell that they've seen more than they probably have ever talked about. But again, just watching them talk about how wonderful he is to her and how much she loves and how much she deserves the love and that she's getting it, just I think gives us a little bit more insight on how their marriage was, even more than what Christine says, right? I think that they just give us a bit more insight. And that was really the last shot that was fired, to have your girl stand around and say, it is so great to finally see someone love you for who you are. All right, fam, that's all I got. Next Sunday is the actual wedding. We see that Cody and Robin are going to come back, and honestly, we don't need to see them kiss. I don't need to see that, but we're probably going to see it. As a matter of fact, if it was in the advertisement for next week, we're probably going to see it. All right, y'all. Like I said, that's all I got. We're going to see the wedding next Sunday, and then we'll be done with Sister Wives. It has been a pleasure to sit and talk about this show with you. I am going to be starting another show and talking about just things going on in reality TV and in the world, because there's a lot going on. If you have been paying attention to your social media or your TV or your magazine, there's a lot going on. It's a lot. And we're going to talk about it. All right, y'all. Remember, if there's anything you want to do, go ahead and do it. Life's too short. Don't let anybody stop you. Peace, love, and hair grease. We out. And rescue your own damn self.